On today's episode of the MSO podcast, I'm excited to welcome Denise Winters. Diagnosed with MS in 2015, Denise has faced incredible challenges with resilience and strength. I met Denise in 2022 at a Ragnar adventure race. When she shared with me the incredible news that she's expecting her first child, I knew we had to tell her story. Multiple sclerosis is 4 times more common in women than men, making family planning and pregnancy big questions for the MS community. In this episode, we talk about Denise's lifestyle choices and her hopes for the future. If you ever wondered what's possible with MS or how to navigate big milestones while living with it, this episode is for you. I'm Mathew Embry. Let's go. Hello, Denise. It's wonderful to see you.
So nice to see you. It's been a long time.
I know. Thank you so much for doing this podcast. I think this one is going to be really interesting for so many of our listeners out there.
I hope so. I'm excited to be here. So thank you for having me.
So Denise, there's something amazing going on in your life. What is it and how's it going?
I'm expecting a little one. I am in my 3rd trimester and it's going actually pretty great. I would like to say I hear a lot of other moms out there who struggle and have a hard time. And I don't know if I should say I'm lucky enough or I've just been doing my part, but I have not had it bad, just slight food aversions and fatigue here and there, but I just cruise on through. So it's been a great experience. I feel very blessed and it makes me realize how beautiful life is. Like just knowing I have a little human inside of me and I'm doing great with MS and it's been a blessing, honestly.
Well, you put in there that detail right at the end. You have multiple sclerosis, and that makes your journey quite unique. And for the people who listen to the MSO podcast, MS affects, as we know, 75 to 80% of the people are women. And many of them either want to start a family or have a family. But for you, how challenging was it psychologically to want to start a family knowing that you've got multiple sclerosis?
Yeah, it was honestly, it was tough as I started to look more into MS. Like, what is this? How is this going to affect my life? And what can I do so it doesn't affect my life? Because I would see a lot of negative things, right? I joined a Facebook group and it was just so negative. I was like, no, I'm going to get out of here. So I started thinking, am I ever going to be able to have a family? Is this going to be something that I will pass on to the little one we're upgrading, So for a while, I never thought I would have kids. I remember telling my mom, I'm glad you have a lot of grandchildren because she does. This would be number 12 for her. And she was just like, no, you'll be fine. I was like, I'm sure I will be, but it's just nerve-wracking knowing that if I bring a little one, like how is it going to impact them based on how I'm doing? And will they have this disease too? Like, what can I do then if I do have one to prevent that from happening? And, we can't say that it's given to our kids' offspring, even though that we see in families that siblings have it, but there's not a lot of evidence. So it was something hard for me to think about. So I think I ignored it for a while.
These are all important questions. And I think that for anyone who's, dealing with multiple sclerosis, the last thing you want to do is to pass it down to a child. I think that's a challenging thought for all of us, I think. So how did you overcome those thoughts and step into making that choice to have a baby?
Honestly, not having fear because I got a grip on my MS. I've come to learn my body very well. My husband knows that as well. Like he knows I'm telling the truth. I'm like, I am fighting something. I need to rest. And like, I know how to maneuver through life. Right. And that came along with error and trial and practice. I tried different diets. Like I tried the OMS diet and I think you're familiar with it. There's certain things that they allow, such as gluten and legumes, and that wasn't working for me. So I'm like, okay, what's the next thing? I tried the Walls diet. I'm like, okay, this is working. It was so hard to get those 9 cups in of veggies and stuff. And then I came about the Best Bed diet. And I was like, okay, like this is similar to Walls, but more manageable and it's realistic. And I've been doing that for years now. And knowing that I have a grip on what I put into my body, how I move, exercise is like, I can't emphasize enough how huge that is. It's something that if you don't have the exercise and diet together, it's just not going to work, right? So I think I overcame that because I got those two main things down that are very important with someone with MS. And knowing that I have control over it, I have control over what I eat, right? No one's going to force me to eat something pricey. No, it's no. If I want to put it in my body, that's my choice. So I have complete control over it. And knowing that gave me the confidence, like, I could do this. I have a grip on my MS. I haven't had a relapse since, I want to say, was it 2020, 21? That was my first and only relapse that I had. And it's been going great. So knowing that I have control over it, and it's something that I am able to do, gave me the confidence that I can do this. I've been great. I haven't had any new lesions. I haven't had active lesions. Like, clearly this works. So if I can do that, then I can be that example for a kid. My body will be strong enough to be able to have a family of my own someday.
So since your diagnosis, have you been using any MS drugs, and how have your symptoms been?
I have not. I stopped medication back in around 2017. So I was taking Copaxone for about a year and a half. And then, so 2017, I stopped using prescription drugs. And I really, really implemented diet, and it's been great. So since up to now, that is something that I stick to, just nutrition, exercise, and I've been symptom free.
When you decided to take that step to use nutritional strategies and exercise to be is it your primary, what would you say, methods to control your MS?
Exercise, absolutely. I see it as my medication. I just had dinner with my best friend. I've known her since we were in preschool. We went to go have dinner, and she's like, how's everything going with MS and, pregnancy? Everything's good. I'm like, yeah. I'm like, MS is non-existent. Like, I'll have a little flare, but it's because I was fighting a virus. I was getting sick. And I knew exactly what to do, did that. And I'm good now. So she's like, yeah. She's like, I know you exercise a lot because it's your medication, right? That's your dose of infusions. I'm like, yeah, it is. That's, instead of going for 1 hour to get an infusion, I'm going to go for an hour and a half to go get my sweat on.
And you also have a healthcare background, which is really interesting to me as well.
So yes, I am in the medical community. I am a registered medical sonographer. So in other words, what people know best as ultrasound. I don't only focus, I don't only do OB. A lot of people just think strictly OB, scanning babies all day. It's not the case. Well, I guess until now that I'm pregnant, because I will, take companionship and go peek at my little one and make sure he's doing okay, or just to stalk him and, see him move around. But I do ultrasounds. I specialize in abdomen, so pathologies such as tumors, cancers, anything you can think of the vital organs that people are affected with, cirrhosis, things like that. Venous scans and arterial scans. So I do all of that, and it's a really fascinating job, but also it's a job that gives me a lot of gratitude because it kind of reminds me of how our bodies work and what it needs for it to thrive. And again, it has its perks because I get to spy on my little one. I actually get some patients who have MS, and they're actually in a wheelchair, believe it or not. The two that I've met so far have been in a wheelchair, and they're in their early 40s. And those are the patients that I have like a hard time with. And one of those patients ended up actually being one of the doctor's like really good friends. And it was just so sad to see because she was just so young. But I asked her like, oh, I'm doing the vitals and stuff, and I have to ask like what medications they're taking. And as soon as she told me, I knew it was MS because she said, she's like, I was on Ocrevus, and she said, no, and we took some out, and I was like, okay, so they're infusions. She's like, yeah. So I'm asking her questions before I start, and I'm like, okay, so instantly I'm like, okay, she has MS. And then sure enough, we get to that. And I asked her, have you ever heard of like diet and nutrition, like being helpful, alongside your meds? I don't want to, make it seem like medicine doesn't work, because I know for some people that's their option and that's totally fine. And she says, yeah, but it doesn't work. And she said, I'm just completely vegan. So I said, okay. I didn't push, but after that, I guess the doctor kind of slipped and was like, oh, Denise has MS. So then she started asking me questions. And because I had to go back in there and draw blood, and I was like, yes, I do. And she says, how have you managed? What medications are you on? I told her I haven't been on medications for almost 8 years now. She's like, and you've been fine? And the look on her face, she's just so like, really? And I told her, yeah, like this is
Wow.
why I asked if you, do anything to consider your food. I said, it's hard. I understand that there's fear, but you have to stick to it. And I mean, it doesn't hurt to give it a try. And so we had that discussion. She asked what I was following, what I ate, what I didn't. And we went into detail to that. And when we were leaving, she actually asked if she can see me one more time. So I went in, and she was with her husband. And she asked if she can give me a hug. And she said, thank you so much. I think I know what some changes that I have to do, and I'm going to try. And hopefully next time I speak to, the doctor I work with, he can tell you some good news about me. So I was like, yeah, like I'm looking forward to it. So it was just, it's touching to know that, you're able to kind of spread the word, or like help out people of what other methods there are to help with MS. So I hope that she tries it, and I hope that I hear good news, because that would make me really happy, because it's sad to see when, they feel like they're just giving up and they're like, okay, let's just let medicine do its course and that's it. And I think people choose the medicine also because it's like a band-aid. I think if I'm taking this, then it's going to cover it, and I can choose to live this way by eating things I shouldn't be eating, right? So I think it's just a fear of giving it a shot.
Well, and the diet can be particularly challenging. I mean, I was even thinking, I was even thinking the other day, like, how many hours a week am I putting into making breakfasts and lunch and dinner compared to the average person? And I'm not complaining,
Yeah.
but it's certainly a lot of effort.
As a matter of fact, because it's a little cold today, I actually have this crock pot going with the vegetable soup from the Best Bed Diet. I shared it before on my story, and it's a good one. So I follow the recipe, and if anybody out there listening, if you know the Best Bed Diet, how you can download it or you can get a book, and it's all for free. One hack that I'll say, I have the book in my kitchen actually, but I actually have a downloaded PDF on my phone, because if I'm at the market and I think of like, oh, that sounds good tonight, like, oh, what's the recipe? I go to my PDF and I'll check what I need. And I actually did that yesterday for my vegetable soup for today. So the Best Bed Diet for sure is the one that I have stuck to, and that's helped me. And it's something that I'm pretty sure I will never drop or let go, and I'll even implement with my kid when he's here.
That's fantastic to hear. And for people who are listening, if you want the science-based information for the Best Bed Diet, go to mshope.com. You can download the cookbook for free, as well as the whole nutritional plan. And we will ship you a free cookbook, but you have to pay for the shipping. So mshope.com for the information for the Best Bed Diet. So when, you decide to have a family, you get pregnant, you've got these nutritional strategies you're using, exercise, this whole lifestyle. How did your lifestyle change at all when you learned you were pregnant? Did it change? And how did the people in your life, the healthcare professionals in particular, respond to the way you were going to proceed with your pregnancy?
My lifestyle did not change. If anything, I go even more now on the days, like I said, there is fatigue, right, that comes with pregnancy. And I'm just like, nope, like, fine. If I'm not going to go this hour because I'm tired, then I'm going to sleep. But then I'm going to wake up, I'm going to have a little burst of energy, and I'm going to take advantage. I'm going to use that burst of energy, and I'm going to work out. And that's what I'll do. So my diet, my exercising, my hiking, that did not go out the window. If anything, I reinforced it even more, because now I have two things, right, that are my whys. One, I have MS. Two, I have a human that he needs to take care of.
Yep.
And these are my true eyes, and this is what's gonna keep me going because there is no ifs or buts. Like it's gonna work out. So it didn't change that. In regards to, I laugh because I I upset the last neurologist, the visit that I had. And, I understand that they're doing their job and they have to prepare for what they say in pregnancy, that you can have a relapse after a few months of postpartum. And I've done some reading. I think you know this about me. If someone tells me something like, doctors, I'm going to go back and I'll read, and I'll even ask you, like, hey, Nat, or like, I will shoot your dad an email. I remember shooting him an email like before I met you. Like, what about this article? Because some of them are very hard to read. So, and go back and do my research. I'm like, okay, it's just like, I get it. It could happen, but there's not a lot of evidence out there because of the number of people it studied. And I'm like, but that's not going to be me because I exercise. I'm doing the job. Are these women exercising? Are they having a good diet? And none of that is written on these articles. It's just that they were on medication. So yeah, that makes sense. If you're on medication, I think you just stop because, you can't be on them while you're pregnant. Of course, when you're done having the kid, you're going to relapse because the body is needing those drugs, right? So I'm like, okay, this is why I'm not stopping, again, my drugs, my exercise, my diet. So the neurologist she didn't really ask me, she just kind of put it on me. Okay, when you're done with pregnancy, let's set up a date for you to start. Those were the words, for you to start either rituximab or Kesimpta, you choose. We'll give you like 3 months to breastfeed and then you can start confusion. And I was like, I don't think I agreed to that. I was like, I'm sorry, but what if I want to breastfeed more than 3 months? And I never said I wanted to go on any infusions right after. I'll think about it. If I need to be on it, we will then discuss options. Those were my words, right? That's not what's happening right now. The right now is I'm healthy, I'm moving, I'm pregnant. We are not going to go based on what can happen and what will happen because we don't know like that. So when I said that, she kind of just got upset and she just stared at me and she said, well, do you have any other questions? And I said, no, I don't. I don't have any other questions. And she said, okay, well, I just want you to know that you need to keep it in mind that it's a high chance that you will, have a relapse after postpartum. And this is something that you should really consider doing for you and your baby. And for me, like, I don't know if it's just me taking it personally, but it's kind of like, don't throw my kid in there. I'm already getting protective. Like, don't throw my kid in there and say, for me or baby. When, again, we don't know what's going to happen after. Should something happen, then we can revisit methods, right, of how to heal and overcome that. But the fact that, I said no because she asked, like, from the previous conversation when we had first met, do you want to be on these medications? I said no. So that second time when it said I'm still on the no, it just wasn't a good ending. And I just didn't know how to feel about that. So I was just like, why do I even see a neurologist? I know why I do, but sometimes I feel like the only reason why I would see a neurologist is because I want some medications, and that's not me.
Yeah, I mean, I think that, I hear this story often from different patients as how challenging it could be to say no to doctors. So how do you find that strength in that moment to be able to stand up for, where you're at, the choices you want to make and be respectful at the same time?
I think it's the way you talk to them, right? I think it's the tone of voice, the words that you choose. And I think I've been around so many different doctors with different personalities that I'm not afraid to communicate this is what we need to do. So I think it's just of knowing how to talk to them. And I think it's also being informed myself of what these medications entail, what these procedures entail, what comes with it, what comes after that. So I think it's me also being knowledgeable in that sense, that I am able to direct the right questions for them, right? So I think if I talk to them respectfully and say, okay, for example, you want to put me on this medication. Okay, doctor, I understand that, but how do we know that this medication truly is for MS? Because it's usually used for people with cancer to deplete their B cells. How am I the candidate for that, or where would I be, especially if I had JC virus? What about my increase of PML? Right? And then I'll let them respond. I'm like, okay, well, that's the reason why I don't want to do it, because I don't want to risk that. Right? So I think it's just the fact of me taking the time to understand what it is that they're trying to implement on me and how to ask those questions to them where we can speak professionally to each other. Like, I'm not going against you. And I tell them, I'm not the doctor you are. At the end of the day, you know more than me, but this is how I feel. So with that said, what would you think, or what do you think would be the best implementation for me if this is the way that I'm feeling and these are my symptoms? And I kind of let them chew on that and then go from there. So I think it's just on how the questions we ask and our tone. I remember when I was first diagnosed.
So could you talk a little bit about that?
I was diagnosed in May of 2015. And it was such a disappointment because I was actually getting ready for a first competition bodybuilding that I wanted to give a shot. So I ended up finding myself in the ER instead. I was terrified because we didn't know what was wrong with me. The doctors tried to send me home. They said that it was just stress, and that's how I was feeling that way. I had pushback, gave them a lot of pushback, and I said I was not going home because clearly there was something wrong with me. They did an MRI, sure enough, when it came in, and they said, I'm glad we did the MRI. Everything went slow motion. I put my knees to my head, and I didn't hear a word they said. And then next thing you know, I found myself admitted, and I had MS. I wasn't too upset, I would say, at that moment when I found out what it was. I just took the time to ask myself, what on God's green earth is MS? And I told myself I'm going to do whatever it takes to just fight and take this thing head on first. And I'm going to show it that I'm not afraid of it. And that's what I've done since. I just not feared it. And I just know that I have the ultimate control of how I deal with it.
And just listening to you now and having known you over the years, how important is it for patients to be doing their own research and to be advocating for themselves? If you had advice to someone who is just diagnosed, what would you tell them to do? How to get after it?
Definitely do the research. Ask people that they trust that are in the field to help them understand what it is they're reading. I would tell them to take your time. First of all, let me back up. I would tell them to go ahead, let them feel all their feelings, their emotions, their fear, their anger, whatever it is that, because they have MS, right? Just feel it, let those emotions go, and then tell yourself, what am I going to do moving forward in order to overcome this disease? What do I have to do? Once you figure out what you want to do, what that course of action is for you, pursue that. Get all the research, get all the information, and go from there. But one thing is, not for 1 second give up or think that life is over, because it's not. For many, it's the blessing in disguise. And I know it sounds so cliche, but it is. And it's just the beginning of a new life that you can't imagine that you'd ever have.
I love it. And that's, I try to stay in that same lane all the time, right? This is a disease that pushed me forward and continues to push me forward every single day when I wake up. Now, for you, let's go back to your pregnancy. I mean, so many people who are listening to this are going to be so interested. How are you doing? How are you feeling? Have there been additional challenges you feel, or do you feel like this is just a typical experience for someone going through this?
It's okay. I wouldn't say it's a typical experience because this is something I've never felt before. My body's changing.
I mean, typical. I shouldn't have said that. Typical is a bad word. I mean, a typical pregnancy list.
Yeah,
That's a
okay.
better way. Yeah.
Yeah. So again, I've been very fortunate that it's been great. The challenges would be the food aversions, right? Like, I love salmon. I can eat salmon every day if I could, and a lot of things, but the smell started getting to me. Is just it. And then I put it in my mouth and I'm like, oh my God, I'm tasting the entire ocean. It's so fishy, so I can't eat it. And just other foods as well, turkey, chicken, you name it. It's just like the smells get to me, the tastes are different. So I'm like, what am I going to eat? Like, I need
Mm.
to eat some protein. So now, not only am I not eating enough calories, barely any, that's not giving me energy. So now my fatigue is really going down. So that's now going to affect the way I work out, right? Because I need
Mhm.
energy. I don't have any. And that's been the most challenging, I would say. But there's ways around it. So I'm like, okay, if I have my husband cook me chicken, I'm gonna ask him to just shred it or cut it into little pieces, and I'm gonna mask it in between like veggies. Veggies was another one that I
Mhm.
couldn't eat. That was another challenge. So I'm like, okay, we're gonna mask this chicken with like some rice and quinoa, throw a little bit of veggies in there,
Right.
and I'm just gonna eat it fast. And that's what I'm doing.
Got it.
Because if not, it's not working. And then smoothies, I'll throw spinach, kale, avocado, things like that in there to get some veggies down. So that's been the most challenging part of it. And again, like I can't emphasize enough the fatigue. But on those days where I have fatigue, like I said, I will just kind of like navigate my way through. If I work out at this time, it's good before the fatigue hits. Or if the fatigue is in the morning, I'm going to sleep, but then I'm still going to get a workout in after, right? So it's just navigating between those windows of the little energy that I have, I'm going to use it and I'm going to move my body.
So
And uh-huh.
yeah, that makes sense to me. And for someone out there who's listening to this, who's, considering um, having a baby, starting a family, what kind of reassurance could you give them? What advice would you give them if they were talking to you right now?
I would tell them to move, to even if it's walking. So many people underestimate walking. I would tell them that, they have to keep their body moving. They have to, whether it's a walk, whether it's on a treadmill outside, even if it's at home and you do squats or lunges, even if it's 30 minutes, my advice would be move. Journal is another huge one. You want to write down what you're feeling because you get to see it on paper and you get a better understanding of what you're experiencing and how to navigate through that. And eating small portions throughout the day. There are going to be foods that are going to nourish you, right? Like don't give into the cravings. That's another thing I'm going to say, but um, eat good foods because that's going to help you have the energy because the fatigue is no joke. I feel like a robot powering down. So I could only imagine if you're eating, processed foods, like that's going to make you feel worse, I would think. But that would be my advice is just, take it easy, one step at a time. You're not in a rush. Like you have to just focus on your timing, your window frames of when you can fit things in and not try to do overboard, but just what feels right to you.
Now, your world is about to change. It's January, right? When the
Yeah.
baby's on the way. Okay, so 2025 is going to be quite a year for you. But now you're going to be in a situation where you have to make a lot of choices for another being here on the earth. And with my children, tried my absolute best to have them on the best bet diet from day one. It's not, I'll tell you, it's not easy, but it's doable. And I look at my kids now; they're 16 and 14. They're both incredible athletes. My son now at 14 is, I think he's almost taller than me now.
Oh, wow.
Never had a glass of milk in his life, and incredible athletes. That was my decision. Do you plan on raising your family on the best bet diet and teaching these kind of nutritional strategies?
Yeah. Yeah, I do. And it's funny you said that because I just heard of a new term. I don't know if you've heard of this before. Have you heard of almond mom?
No.
Yeah, neither have I.
Almond mom.
Yeah, I'd never heard of it.
Okay, this
Someone
sounds like a new podcast we should have. The almond mom.
someone at work asked me, "Are you gonna be an almond mom?" I was like, "Excuse me? Like, what is that?" They're like, "Well, because you eat so healthy, so when your kid comes, you're gonna be that like mom." So I was trying to get an idea. I'm like, "Oh,
Uh,
okay, I see where you're going with this." I'm like, I don't think I am. I'm not sure what that is, but I mean, I strive to feed my kids healthy. Like, what do you mean? So going back to that, I guess I would be considered an almond mom to that person.
mhm.
But I do plan on that. I plan on just this is I understand people give like options to their kids. I'm not saying I'm not going to give them options, but if I do, that's going to be options that are still around the best fit diet, right? So like my husband knows absolutely no Pop-Tarts, stuff like that, just for an example. Like they
Mm-hmm.
haven't been in this house. So why would you bring them in when he comes in?
Mm-hmm.
I'm having boy, so I refer to he. So I'm like, we don't eat that. Why would he eat it? And I say we because my husband has a sweet tooth, but at the same time, he knows that he sees how I eat, how I move and work out. And so for him to support me, like he won't bring things like that into the house. And he'll say like, I'm going to eat the way you eat. That way, I am supporting you. He's like, and
That's huge.
it'll benefit me too. It makes a huge difference. Don't get me wrong. Sometimes he'll bring in,
Oh, yeah.
I don't know, some kind of something that he's enjoying, but I'm not going to say, no, don't bring it in the house. Like, enjoy it. Like, that's you. But as for a kid, like I told him and we had a discussion about it and we're like, there's foods that they're not gonna eat, like cereal, Pop-Tarts, all that stuff, whatever. If there's some baked goods, I will bake it. I know what's going in it. Certain things I'm not gonna, if they're at school, I can't control it, but the only way we can do it is by continue to be that example. Because if they see it, right, that's gonna be the normal to them. They grew up seeing that normal. Oh, mom and dad eat this. They eat chicken for breakfast, because I do sometimes. I'll eat chicken for breakfast, just not at the moment. And it's going to be normal. They're not going to know it's not, right? So I plan on just keeping those clean foods in the pantry and going from there. And what do they call it? Nesting. When you're pregnant, they say you're nesting. So I've been like clearing out cabinets and I'm going through everything. And my husband's like, you're going really crazy. I'm like, I just want to make sure things are organized and they're ready to go, like even in the pantry when this happens, because that's going to be a huge impact. And I've been doing this for a long time. There's no way that why would I put my armor down? I've done it before and I saw where it led me when the relapse, right? That felt worse like than when I was diagnosed. I'm like, no, absolutely not. Especially knowing that, your kids do have a chance of having MS for the parent. Like
It's very low. It's very low, but it's still there. It's still higher than the average person, but it's there.
Yeah, it's still there.
Yeah.
So no,
and we definitely share, the importance of giving babies and young people optimal doses of vitamin D as preventative measures. We share this on our website to the best of our ability.
Yeah. So I've been looking into all of that, and it's just like this doesn't go. And he's like, "Oh boy," and I'm like, "Yeah." It's like, saddle up. We're in for a journey. Our life is going to change, but we need to be the best, example that we can be and go from there. But I mean, it will be beneficial for the kid to eat healthy. Obviously, that's the way I was to be eating anyways. So it's like, what do we call a diet? That's really what we should be doing.
It's funny you say that, because I was thinking the other day about why we even have the term health food store versus supermarket.
Yeah. Isn't that interesting?
Even though we define like the health, there's where you go get healthy food, and so what does that mean for the other? It's a very strange delineation.
Donkey processed food market.
So, for listeners who don't know, you and I met at a Ragnar race in the desert in Utah, just outside of Zion National Park. So we were in Zion, and 8 MS patients all came together. And a Ragnar race is an adventure race. It's an adventure relay race. So you get a group of people, and they relay a ridiculous amount of miles. I think we did 138 miles was what we were supposed to do. 8 of us, 8 MS patients, and we did our own loops in Zion Park for that race, and we completed in the top 50th percentile of over 2,000 people who were there.
Oh yeah, there's a lot of people there. I was on a high and on a good one, because it just felt amazing. It's like, wow, it wasn't a typical race. This is a race where you're racing all night, all day. And I remember telling Matt, wow, it's gonna be the first time I ran at night. And he's like, really? I'm like, yeah, I've never ran at night before. He's like, yeah, but headlamp? I was like, yeah, I do. And it was just amazing. And the feeling afterwards, that accomplishment, your body's tired. But I was like, man, I'm getting a second wind here. Hey, I'm getting a second wind here. I can do this again. It was just such a incredible feeling to know that, regardless of what all of us were experiencing, because we all had, some moments of a little bit of trouble with some MS symptoms. Not everybody, but some of us did, but we managed to pull through. So just knowing that, I felt a sense of gratitude and a sense of just, I am thankful for my body. Like I just did this. It's hard. Not a lot of people would do this. So we did it and we came butt. And it just, that feeling afterwards is just sky's the limit. It's like
Mhm.
I can continue to push my body and accomplish things. So it was just such an incredible feeling of gratitude and just a great accomplishment of self. So it was a great feeling. I was very proud of each and every one of us.
So you are an accomplished runner, trail runner, hiker. Uh, Obviously, I'm assuming you slowed down a bit now. But
Just no run, but I'm still going.
okay, what does the future hold for you? Do you see, getting back to where you were? Where's Denise going to be in 3 years from now?
Yeah. I have a big, hairy, scary goal. At one point in my life, I want to do 100-miler.
Oh,
Yeah.
I
That's what I call
applaud
it.
you.
And that's why I said a big, hairy, scary goal. I won't mention where I want to do it yet until it comes and I'll be like, surprised I did it.
Okay.
But I have my eyes on that. And we're still going hiking.
Yeah.
And the only thing is I'm not running because I get, the running is a hit or miss with pregnancy right now because I get like some round ligaments that we have in our like lower quadrant, right? So
Right.
because it's stretching. And if I start running, I start feeling the pull. And I like, I can still do this because whatever pain. I'm like, no, I don't want to risk it. So I'll just start walking. So we're still, my husband and I and my dog, we're still going hiking. We're getting our miles in. We'll do some incline. And sometimes they'll turn around, I was like, are you okay? I've never
Mhm.
heard you breathe like that. I'm like, yes, don't mind me. I'm bringing like a heavy bull, but I'm fine. Let's keep it going. So my goal after pregnancy is once I get the green light, I'm strapping the harness on, going with my kid, going with my husband. We're going to get those miles in, start slow, walk. Eventually, he'll be carrying the baby because I'm going to be running.
Right.
So that's my goal. I want to definitely get back on it. And I think it'll be nice also a way to spend time with, my family and my kid. So it'll be nice, get some outdoors adventures. Yeah.
Now, with your whole family, your extended family as well, is everybody behind you with this nutritional approach you're taking right now? Are you getting a lot of support around that?
Not from every one of them. I know they probably need it, you know, like jokingly, but sometimes I'm like, are you really joking?
Mm.
Or what's going on here? So I'm one of 8. So, they're like, we have gaps in between. So I'm closer to some of them. Some of them are just way too, like, oops. They hear this and realize they call them old. But some of them are older. So they
Mhm.
don't really understand, but they're like super supportive, right? Then I have like young ones that like make comments such as, oh, that was another thing, crunchy mom. I'm like, what does that even mean?
Crunchy mom.
Yeah, almond
Okay,
mom, crunchy mom.
I
Like,
didn't know there was all these types of moms.
I didn't either.
You know.
And but they're supportive, I guess, in a sense, but sometimes they'll make jokes about it, like if we go to Thanksgiving's coming up, like, and they're talking about, oh, do you guys remember this? You have a group chat, and let's say it's some kind of like juice or soda from like when they were younger, like, oh, we should bring it, they have it again. And then I'll comment like, oh, that's so disgusting. Like even as a child, I didn't like one, and then they'll throw in comments, oh, here comes a weird one. Or
Got it.
here comes the one that doesn't have any taste, the bland food. I'm just like, whatever. So I mean, there there is like, it's like a hit and miss. But I will say, when I was living with my mom and my sister, and we watched, actually, I just got chills. We watched the documentary the first time we had watched Living Proof. I
Mm.
had just gone back from the hospital after I was admitted back in 2015. And like couple months later, I came across Living Proof and we're watching it. I kid you not, Matt. I came home a week later and my mom and sister were clearing out the pantry. And my mom, I'm getting emotional about it. My mom was just like, yeah, like, we're going to do this. We're behind you. We're going to support you. Like, this is a good way to eat. And, we're going to stand by you. And I think that was a turning point because that also made me stick to it more. I had that support. So I was living with them
Mhm.
for a couple years before we got married and moved out. And I remember now, like months in, right, of doing the OMS diet, all of us, all 3 of us, I remember going to family gatherings and my mother, my godmother asked my mom, like, oh, how's he's doing? Like, she on medication? I was like, honestly, since she's been off medication, she's been doing a lot better. She's not getting as sick as often.
Mhm.
It's like she doesn't have it. And my mom told her, like, this is what we're doing. And I think that was probably the holy grail for me, who would never just sit back because it made wonders, right? So,
Mhm.
yeah, my family supported, but sometimes they'll make comments. But it's great that it really helps when someone is behind you and everybody implements. It just makes things run smoother.
Totally. Yeah, the
Yeah.
more support you can get, the better.
Yeah.
And so tell me, how are you feeling like today? Like what's going on right now for you? Are you
So,
doing good? Like
yeah, I'm doing good. I will say, I mentioned this earlier. I think I did about the cold, how I don't like the cold.
Mhm.
And the cold is one thing. Okay, so with MS, it's different, right? Heat and cold
Yeah,
tolerance. I can't tolerate the cold. I
me
will
too.
flare
Yeah.
up. Yeah, and so now with pregnancy, I feel like it's been a little more on the sensitive side.
Mm.
It's not that cold out here in California, and we went for a hike. And even though I was wearing pants and like warm clothes, instantly, like later on at night, I'm just like, oh no, I'm starting to have a flare. And it's not to scare anybody, especially when you're pregnant. But from my knee up to my horse to my face, from my knee towards the to face, I had lost a sensation. This was just this last weekend. Wasn't completely numb, but a little lost. I'm like, okay, like I'm finding something. I'm getting sick also. Like I can just feel, like I had this bad cough. Like, all right, I know what I need to do. It's 8 o'clock. Then get in bed by 8:30. I need to sleep early. I need to get X amount of hours to sleep in. I need to eat. Um, I need to hydrate. I did that for about 2 days, and guess what? I had full sensation again. It's just, the
Yeah, I mean, it's really interesting. I mean, having communicated with you over the years, your body, your experience, it seems to really correlate with viral infections. Is that true? And can you talk about that with other people because that is a problem for people.
yeah. I try to, but I don't think they truly understand I, how viruses work. And I try to say, if someone has a virus, not MS, like a person without MS, your body, like it's naturally going to get inflamed in specific areas, right? Because the way that viruses work and the way they affect us. Now, given someone with MS, we know inflammation is just the big, things are about to happen here and body's going through tantrums. They try to explain that when you have a virus and you're a patient with MS, that it's going to affect you more. And how that it's going to affect us, we don't know. At least for me, it's different. It could be zaps, or it can be numbness. So I try to explain that to people. I try to explain and I tell people. Sometimes I get a little frustrated. Like, this is why, if you're quote unquote healthy, right? Meaning you have no illnesses, no diseases. Why aren't you eating great? Can you imagine what that would do for you? And here is someone who does, and we're trying to eat great because we see the ultimate changes it makes in our body. So, trying to explain that is hard when someone doesn't really, and I'm just gonna say, I don't think they really care to know, right? Because they're just like, oh, whatever, I feel good, I'm healthy, I don't have that. So I don't think they care to really understand it as much as I'll try to explain it.
Now, one thing I would love you to expand on a bit is that you've had these viral, say episodes in your life, and then you get some symptoms, and then your symptoms seem to go away. Has that been a regular pattern for you?
Yes. Yeah, they seem to go away. I always keep count of the days, and I know like how long they'll last, and if it starts to last more than 3 days, I know, oh snap, I need to really kick up the gear here and do something to really bring it down. But they do seem to go away once I get more. Like I said, sleep. I slow down, and believe it or not, I I still exercise when feeling that way.
Hmm.
I just, again, I won't go to the gym maybe because and then I can pick up more, right? Because my immune system It's
Yeah.
down.
Yeah.
Boom.
Mm-hmm.
So
I'm
I'm
the
gonna go
same
to my
way.
yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna take it to the garage. We have things there.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna go for a jog around the block, or if I can't, I'm gonna walk. And then I'm gonna come home and I'm going to sleep. And that seems to help.
Now, I want to talk a little bit about how much MS is top of mind for you. You've got a lot going on in your life right now. Is it something that's in the back burner, the back of your mind, or is it still something on a daily basis that you're checking in with yourself, you're doing the body scan mentally, and you're getting after strategies to help control it?
Yeah. Yeah. It's still it's on the back of my mind. Like I said, now I have my two wives, right? One being MS, two being a mom. So it's the front line because it's it's not who I am, but this could determine of who I am becoming, right? So I'm keeping it in the front lines for me because I do my body scans, and the second that I feel something's off, because I'm very into my body,
Hmm.
like, all right, I need to analyze this. Why? What did I do? What did I eat? Or is it just because I'm pregnant? Again, with pregnancy, they say MS is like really on the back burner. There's no symptoms. And they say because our immune system is suppressed. And it sounds kind of contradictory because if you have an suppressed immune system, that means, wait a minute, can't you get more sick? But
Mm.
apparently, because now there's hormonal changes increasing and whatnot, that's what's kind of helping for like the lack of inflammation and relapses in the MS while pregnant. So I feel that it's now more on the spotlight because I'm not just nourishing myself now, I'm nourishing a baby as well.
Hmm.
So to my mind, I'm like, okay, like I said, if there's days where I can't eat, I feel guilty because I'm like, oh my gosh, like
Hmm.
my kid needs to eat good food and I need to eat food. If not, now I'm really going to not give my cells what they need, and now I'm really going to be prone to getting sick, and that's just a big no. It's like I don't know what would come with that if, God forbid, I would relapse while I'm pregnant. Like I don't even want to imagine that.
Hmm.
So as I'm getting closer to the due date, um, it's something that I'm really trying to enforce, especially like I said, like this past weekend, the fact that I, started feeling that loss of sensation. Hadn't for a second, I'm not gonna lie, I did. I was like, okay. And this is like my husband tells me, relax. You've been through this before. You know what to do. Just rest. Do nothing. I'm like, yeah. So I'm gonna go do it. So I took myself upstairs and I relaxed, and then went from there. But it's something that you can't ever put on the back burner, like ever. At least for me, there's no way.
Yeah, I'm the same way. It's for me, it's a daily, it's a daily reminder of where I'm at, how things are going. Put the chicken breast in the air fryer, have breakfast, repeat.
Yeah, I've had fish for breakfast.
But it's interesting. Like what I'm finding now is my kids, they're at the point where they've figured it out. So like
But I see that. Yeah.
it took a while for them to kind of figure out what it meant for dad to have MS. Like, but now I see the wheels turning, and
Yeah. So
I yeah,
I have a question for you.
yeah.
So when was the turning point for them when they realized, hey, dad has MS, but like, what does MS mean? Like, when did they
It's
fully?
just I think it's just happening. Like, right?
Ah,
I can see it happening like now. So I think that because they grow up always seeing you eat and exercise a certain way. Like
yeah,
it's like I call it a culture in our house, and this is our basement. It's like we got a rack and exercise equipment. Like, they grew up this way, and I'm down here once a day if I have to do all that kind of thing. So that for them, it's all. But now they're getting to the point they realize like that that's not normal for lots of reasons. But like this is particularly this kind of lifestyle can be a bit different. And like my son says interesting. He said something really interesting the other day because I think I was getting the gears for not eating something because that never stops.
yeah.
Like just so you know, people have made fun of my lunch in the workplace for my whole life.
They,
Not now at the company I work for, thankfully, but it has happened in the past. Um, and you'll get those jabs.
yeah.
Eat like a bird, that kind of stuff. I've heard for
Oh,
years.
you I get that too.
Yeah. But now it's to the point where my kid, my son, he said something really interesting to me the other day. I said, why don't you think I eat that? Like I was talking back about it, and he's just like, well, so you're not in a wheelchair. I was like, okay. Like
Oh, really?
he's figured out, what my key core motivation is.
So, yeah. So would you say then, kind of like I mentioned earlier in regards to when you asked me, now being pregnant when, my baby comes, if I will implement the best fit diet. And I
Mhm.
said yes, because that'll be something they will get used to. So I think, so funny, I'm going to say it. Sounds like living proof for you because you have implemented that. So that's what they grew up
Yeah,
knowing and seeing,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
So,
And I can also tell you as a parent, there are some pretty profound moments that can happen. I remember one particular for me 2 years ago was my son's birthday party, and we're just playing basketball. But I was just like, oh my gosh, like here I am playing basketball.
yeah.
And like for me, it was just I'm playing ball with my son and his friends, and like I can do this. And
Yeah.
it seems like, for anyone watching it, they just seem like normal dude playing with his kids, you know. But for me, it was so profound because
Big deal.
I did it, and for
Yeah.
me, that's something I wanted to do, is to be that active dad, and I can do it. And so I could promise you'll have those moments.
I That's the goal, That's the goal. So funny. This entire pregnancy, everybody's just been so now. How do I say this? It's not that, yeah, they don't really ask, hey, how are you doing with MS? There's very few, maybe two friends that I can think of on top of mind right now that'll like check in randomly, like, how's your MS doing? But now that I'm pregnant, everybody's like, how's your MS? Are we okay? How are you dealing
Ah,
with the
interesting.
craving?
Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm like, my MS is great. It's non-existent. What about the
Right.
cravings? And I'm like, I don't have cravings
Mhm.
actually. I had to think about it. I'm like, I guess my craving is frozen cherries and nectarines. And they're like, really? I'm like, that's my craving.
Right.
But what about like, is it hard for you to give in? Like, I mean, is it hard for you? Like, you don't crave the sweets? I'm like, if anything, that's the one thing that is grossing me out right now. Even the thought of like anything sweet, I'm just like, ugh. But then I sat down and I thought about it. I'm like, well, when was the last time I did have something sweet like that? When was the last time I had, I don't know, like whatever it is that people buy, at fast food places, or I can't recall. So
Mhm.
maybe that's why. But yeah, people are just like, how's MS? How's MS? I'm like, it's non-existent. I'm fine. I'm like, other than lethargic, I'm like, I know people with MS can experience being lethargic. I never have. So I'm gonna say that's the pregnancy, right?
Mhm.
Well, how are we dealing with it? Like I nap and then I just move what I can. And then after that, like I'll go get a workout in and then I feel so drained after, like
Mhm.
tired. And I get frustrated because my mind, I want to do things right. My body's like, nope. So I have to remind myself, Denise, it's not because you're just tired from a workout. Like you're creating a human. Take it easy.
Exactly. It's a big job. It's pretty
Yeah.
miraculous.
But I forget about it, Matt. And my husband has to bring me back and he's like, Denise, like you went to the gym, you were there for an hour, and then you went hiking and you did 4 miles. Like, yeah. He's like, you're carrying a kid. Like they're taking so much out of you. Like,
Mhm.
go sleep. And then I think that's when it clicked. And it's not that I don't know I'm pregnant. I know I am, but I'm like, yeah. Yeah, that's what it is. It's not because I'm just being lazy. It's I'm creating a human undertaking so much. My body, right, is doing
Mhm.
so much that I can't see. So it's things like that that just kind of remind me. I'm like, okay, like I am doing fine. I'm doing the best I can. It's hard. It's challenging. It's hard when you don't have an appetite and that doesn't work in your favor because then that just doesn't help with the fatigue. But there's ways around it, and I'm just doing my best. So just
Mhm.
taking it day by day.
Well, Denise, one thing I would love to do is catch up with you in about 6 months from now. So, I mean, your neurologist has shared that, and I believe this is true, that women sometimes have relapses after having the baby. It'd be wonderful to check in to see how you're doing. Meet your son. It's a boy, you said?
Yes.
Yeah.
Wanna know his name? I'll tell you his name.
Oh, wow. You made a lot of decisions. What's his name?
Yeah, Zion.
Zion. I
Yes.
love that name.
Yeah.
That's where I met you in
Yeah, that's
Zion.
what I was waiting for to click.
Yeah, that's great. That's awesome. That's
As
a
you
that's
can
a
see,
that's a great
the
name.
design has a huge impact in my life. I won't get into those details, but yeah. I mean, do
Inter-
you remember also I told you I had a dream before I met you that I did a race with people? And I was like, it was intense and it was overnight. And then it didn't hit me until Ragnar
right
race. I
there
was like,
in
oh
Zion.
my God, this was my dream.
I had
But
some profound experiences there too. We could share on another podcast at another time.
yeah.
But that's amazing. But so let's check in with you then. And I know you put yourself out there. You're in Living Proof too. You're doing this podcast. You've decided to share your story. So number one, why have you decided to do this? And number two, if people want to get a hold of you, follow your journey, how do they do that?
No, why I decided to do this, as in participate, put myself out there,
Mhm.
because I feel like there's a lot of negativity out there when it comes to people with MS. They have an image right away that, things are going to go downhill. It's not true. Yeah, it happens, but it's not true because ultimately I think the power is in your hands, right? And I like to share my story because if I can somehow spark some kind of flame in someone for them to have their moment of aha, this is what I need to do. Doesn't have to be what I do, what you do, what the person does, but just the aha for them of like, if I do this, whether it's learning a new instrument, because that's sending, you're firing your neurons, right, to make connections, that's going to make a huge difference too. Just anything that it is that will inspire them, like that's what I hope it does for them to stay on the right side. But most importantly, to know that if you keep moving, right, because you have one body, just one, you can't ever live in anybody else's or get a refund on it. So I do this because I show that if you take care of yourself, physically and then mentally, because that's a huge one too, that your mind, your body are going to connect and they're going to follow together. And I hope that people realize that and they give it a try. Because I feel like if they give it a try, and let's just say they fail in 2 weeks, get back on, keep trying to try, and they're going to see that in those 2 weeks, how they felt and compare it to what they felt like before. And I hope that they hold on to that and somehow they just continue the momentum because I think everybody deserves to live a happy, healthy life and recognize and discover what their body could do because we don't know until we push the limits. So it's the reason why I do that. And I guess where people could connect with me is on Instagram. My name there is Denise Winters. The I in Winters is the number 1. So that's where anybody can reach out to me and we can talk. And it's another reason why I like doing this because I connect with others with MS and we learn a lot from each other. We'll ask each other certain questions and, curious about what are you doing to implement a healthy lifestyle? What are you eating? And I learned from them too. I'm like, God, I never thought about that, right? So being able to share with each other and support each other is huge because I feel like if you don't have support, then it's really hard. So if I can be that support, even if from that one person, and I'm still a stranger, right? But if I'm the support for this one person who reached out, then I'm glad because I hope that that's going to inspire them to be a better version of where they are at that moment.
So Denise, final question. What does hope mean to you?
To me, hope, it's kind of a tough one, but it means the first thing that comes to my mind, it means having faith, right? It's we can't see what's out there. We just kind of hope for this thing. We don't see it. Same thing as the way that faith works. We can't see it, but we have to believe and trust it. So for me, hope means trust, and I will specify in self. So hope for me means trust in self, that if we're going to implement something in our life, that we have to trust ourselves that we are going to accomplish just that.
Amazing. Thank you so much for doing this, Denise. We wish you all the absolute best with the remainder of your pregnancy and hope everything goes fantastic, which I'm sure it will. And we look forward to seeing you and meeting Zion in 2025.
It'll be great. I can't wait. Thank you so much. But yes, all the positive vibes here
Okay.
because, delivering we'll see. This is another reason why I've been working out, because it's supposed to help. So we'll keep in touch then.
Thanks, Denise.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Thanks for listening. Remember, there is hope. For free information on managing MS, including the Best Bet Diet Cookbook, more videos, and all other science-based resources, visit mshope.com. And follow me, Mathew Embry, on Instagram and Facebook. The MS Hope podcast is produced by MS Hope as an initiative to widely share our message. Please contact us directly if you want to support or join the team.
The MS Hope podcast is intended for general information purposes and is not a substitute for professional health or medical advice. The views, opinions, and statements expressed in this program are those of the individual guests and do not necessarily reflect the views, policies, or positions of the MS Hope podcast, its host, or any affiliated organizations. Remember, your health journey is unique. Stay informed, stay in control, and stay hopeful. For more information, visit mshope.com.